Yes, I've been fortunate to be working at Mega Bloks or Mattel for over 20 years. I started as an intern and I grew all the way up to senior vice president of a global brand making toys for kids. That journey actually brought me to working in nonprofit organizations, and I'm also currently president of the board of the Batchow Foundation, which helps support kids, youth, and family in foster care in the English-speaking sector in Montreal. And what I really was passionate about is taking my business experience and bringing it to the nonprofit and community segments in order to activate programs, get more funding, and move forward, move with progress. And that inspired me to think of, if I can take some of that business experience and bring it to nonprofit, how can I impact that in an even bigger way? And that inspired me to run in politics to make an even bigger change. I chose the Green Party because I believe it's the only party that prioritizes both the planet and also people. It makes policies, decisions, and advocates for changes to happen faster that help us both in the short term, but also set us up for a future that is sustainable for our children and our future generations. I think it's important to have really strong voices in Ottawa that can challenge those bigger parties that have way more seats and power in order to activate both what is important for planet and climate change activations, but also needs for our community by making sure that we can have fair taxation. We are having a voice for minorities and things like that. I think if we don't have diverse perspectives in Ottawa to drive federal change, we're not going to see the change at the speed at which we need it. Yes, so I'm the Green Party candidate in Lasalle, Émard, Verdun, which is an area on the island of Montreal in Quebec. And the biggest things that I hear often are obviously the cost of living issues that are increasing, the access to housing, which is becoming a larger problem. Those are two of the fundamental things. We're also a lot about like childcare and senior care and how we could help support that. And I think the biggest underlying factor of all of this is what is happening with the economic instability, with our changes from Trump in the US, as well as what are we doing as a country, as a government, and as leaders to support international aid that is required in Palestine and the Ukraine. I think the challenges of not having enough role models in positions like mine have been something that I've grown up with. I have had many other role models, male, female, of diverse perspectives, and I cannot accentuate enough the importance of those. That has inspired me to jump into places that sometimes I am not expected. But I think once I can get, and anyone can get a seat at the table, making sure that we are taking the bravest parts of us to do and say the big, important, hard things is so important, because we have the opportunity to influence peers and of course future generations in order to do even bigger and better things than us. And that's like a big learning and actually reason for why I worked so hard and pushed my way through corporate, and also while I'm standing up in politics. In fact, just last week, as I was out, canvassing, one of my volunteers saw a poster with some very difficult, disturbing information on it. And while sometimes that causes a high level of fear and a reason for both women and people of color not to run in places like politics, it actually makes me feel even more inspired and empowered to run and to stand up and make sure that we are doing everything that we can to remove this fear and hate that is entering our country, to inspire more women to run, more people of color to run, and hopefully one day make sure that my daughters can run without fear, both in politics and in corporate America. Unfortunately, the hate and fear and the rhetoric that we are seeing and feeling in Canada is coming into the U.S. And I think we hear it in conversations, in politics, in debates from the Conservatives. And it is very important that we protect who we are as Canadians, and prioritize taking care of diverse perspectives, being human, and we need to make sure that we are standing up not just for for the economic policies that are a threat right now, but also for the human needs and rights that we need to stand up for. Yes, of course, there's a huge Muslim population here. I have had the chance to go to the mosques in the area to present my candidacy and have even deeper conversations with our community. I think the definitely the issue of Palestine and how Canada and our government is standing up to support the changes that need to happen in order to support and move forward away from this genocide is a topic that is so near and dear to many Muslims, but also just so many of Canadians that I talk to every day. I think the majority of everyday Quebecers and the population of Lasalle, Émard, Verdun, Muslim or not, believes that Canada is a place that should be a country, a government that should be standing up to not only protect human rights in Canada, but should be an advocate and role model in the world. And I think it is very disappointing that our current Liberal government is not standing up to make the changes required and has not invested in resupporting the UN WHRA that is in Palestine, that is not calling for a stop in military support and arms deployment. There is a lot of disappointment that the current government is not doing that, and there is a ask and expectation that the government does do the right thing because we're Canada, and does actually advocate to make sure that anti-Palestinian and any anti-Muslim, in fact, anti-Semitism, all hatred should be very strongly stopped and advocated for at government level as well. Bill 21 is an unfortunate, and if I can say personally, as a Muslim woman and as a Quebecer, bad law. It is, I believe, wrong for what we stand for as Canadians and as a person. That being said, Bill 21 is a Quebec law and legislation. And so directly, as I'm running for federal, it actually, we don't have the federal government intervening in the provincial matters. So there is that. But I can say that personally, both as Bisma and as a Quebecer, I feel like it is wrong, and I will totally support women who wear hijab and our Muslim community to make sure that I can do whatever I can to advocate for change. I think it is very unfortunate that our current government is not supporting this change. I recommend to any voters, please go look at votepalestine.ca and make sure that we're voting for candidates that are supporting the call to actions there. That includes stopping, calling it a genocide, making sure that Palestine is recognized as a state, stopping support, making sure that we're advocating to stop illegal settlements. These are important things that I believe Canada, as a leader in human rights, as we should be advocating for. And I think it's extremely disappointing that our current leadership is not saying that and advocating for that. First, I'll say I think it was extremely disappointing and undemocratic to not have the Green Party in the debates, in both the English and French language debates. There are clear rules of why or how a party can be invited to a debate. We met the rules, we were invited to the party, and there seemed to have a last-minute change that we believe is undemocratic. That being said, I do encourage voters to go look at the platform. Our full platform is up on our website, greenparty.ca, where we can read our policies. It is quite a document. I also encourage people to try Boussole Électorale, which I'll be happy to actually send you a link if you can share with your audience, which is a sort of simplified, if I call it, quiz that answers a lot of questions based on important policies that are important to Canadians. And it kind of gives a where you stand based on your opinions and what's important to you versus the different party platforms. And I think that could be also an interesting guidance for people that are perhaps not willing or don't have the time to really understand and go deep into the different policies of the parties, but do a quick analysis to make sure that you are really aligned with what the parties are standing for. And the last thing I'll add is I chose the Green Party because I believe that it is the best party that really stands for what we need today, prioritizing people, and what we need tomorrow, prioritizing the planet for our future generations. When I say prioritizing people, we're the ones that are advocating to make sure that we can reduce the taxes for everyday people, make sure that things like affordable housing and access to food, which are basic needs that all Canadians should not have to worry about, are truly met. And we have outlined where those funds could come from, and those funds can come from, the highest, big, large companies that are currently being subsidized by the government, especially companies that are currently in the gas and oil field. That is bad for people and it's bad for the planet. We should be able to reinvest those funds into what our everyday population needs: food and housing, education, healthcare, as well as using it to invest in green energy so that we can protect our country and our planet for the future. Thank you so much for having me. I think the closing message would be please go and vote. It is such an important right that we have as Canadians. This is a big election. There are a lot of things in play. Yes, the tariffs coming from the U.S., how we respond, also the rise of hate and anger. We need to make sure that we're standing up both of the things that are important for our economy, but also important for our human rights. So I encourage you to look into the choices that you have and, please go and vote green, but definitely please go and vote. Thank you.